So recently I've been rewatching a lot of H-Bomber's guys' videos. The old ones, you know, the ones that are a lot to do with how games work and how everything's put together. And his Undertale one really stood out to me. A game that is built on the idea of coming to an end and that being it. El Finito. And I remembered a set of games that I really loved. Some that I really want to talk about, but today I'll focus on one. And maybe do the others a little while later, who knows. This one is mainly focused on how, in an age of 4K updates, popping ultra-realistic gore and photorealism in our environments are being the norm, that maybe that shouldn't be what our focus is. Maybe the looks and the appearances should really be a bit of a step back. Thomas Was Alone was originally a Flash game, a creation of a small collection of shapes, a little bit of a story, a lot of jump puzzles, and just a really relaxing and charming time. I didn't play it this way. I played the version that came out on the Xbox One, the one that included a voiceover by the amazing Danny Wallace, column writer in the shortlist and the creator of some interesting novels like Yes Man, or, if you're a true gamer, Sean Hastings from the Assassin's Creed series. This game hooked me. I remember it vividly, of having reached at the end of my HND and before my honours year at uni, thinking of creating new games and hoping to work in the games industry. Well, I'm doing this in hairdressing now, so you can see how that went. But most of the games I'd experienced before that, and the concepts I drew up were far-flung RPGs and long-winded story FPSs that relied heavily on the Bethesda Fallouts, Mass Effect, Titanfall, and lots of big shooty-killy games, if I'm honest. Then, out of nowhere, this little game that had been suggested to me by Dejon, who used to do videos for this channel, solely for achievements, popped up on sale. It was only £2, and to an unemployed student, well, that's not bad at all, is it? I played it solidly. I think while everyone was at work, etc., I just played and played. I think it took the main of 9 to 5 working days, and when I was finished, well, it just shone inside me. It changed my outlook on games. At the level this had an effect on me, well, I talked about it at length with my dad, who recently learned how to play Mario Kart on the Switch, whose main games are Halo and Star Wars Battlefront, Crash Team Racing and SNES games. The man has no time for a game about squares, and I talked his ear off while cutting his hair all about it. I mentioned it in my honours year interview, about what inspired me to make games. This one is one of the few that has genuinely evoked tears from me, and has made me wish I actually spent more money purchasing it so the developers knew how good it was. Well, I couldn't do this video if I can't tell you the story off the top of my head, so here's what I felt when I went back to it. Also, beware spoilers for this game, I personally found it really difficult to finish when I played it again. I'll say why throughout, and I can recommend that you at least watch a playthrough of it and listen to the story first if you don't want the narrative spoiling. Before I start that, I need to tell you one thing that came when I just chose to reinstall this game. I felt this pressure, this pushback, this real wish not to go back to it just in case my reviewing of this game taints the pure and wonderful story that I remember. The one that was so chock full of character and charm and beauty, and that's just installing it. Part 1. The game. The game itself is a simple 2D platformer that seems to follow basic rules, and you learn the capacity of each character as you unlock them, and you see who you have for what level by the collection of coloured squares in the bottom right. This then helps you to prepare and comprehend what types of puzzles you will face throughout. I say the key is in the corner, not just because you can see who controls are next in your options, but because you might not see where some of the characters are immediately. Like James, I couldn't find him to begin with, and it was only when I was flicking through all the characters, if I'd just looked, I'd have been able to know he was there. Anyway, I'll talk about James in a moment. He's big. The story is one about a group of AI stranded in a program, learning and creating personalities while also finding their ways through the problems following them. This is an amazing crux of the narrative, because the characters themselves take on a bigger personality. They become more than squares that they are. You picture them as people. It's amazing. I really kind of wanted to do fan art of them, but my drawings are really bad, so I might look into asking someone Who knows? Maybe pop it in the comments. I don't know. Some of the characters have connections with each other that is just truly wonderful. The joy John gets being seen as the centre of attention, the power and self-assurance Claire has in being a superhero. You feel the growing love between Chris and Laura, and they're just squares. But this brings us to our next point. Part 2. Facing the losses, losing the faces. Chris and Laura's little relationship is really adorable, but appears to come with some baggage. Laura has had a number of friends who have helped her before. They've used her, and then they've vanished, and that's truly cruel. Chris doesn't seem to be the type to do that, though. He's our lovely boy who hates the company of others, but kinda likes Laura, and thinks she's kinda neat, and that's lovely. Oh, I forgot, there's another thing that comes with Laura. It's a giant pixelated cloud of death. This pestilence blob makes all the gang seem really suspicious of Laura and uncomfortable around her. It starts to weigh on their mind. It's almost like something in The Walking Dead as they start thinking about leaving her in the puzzles, which I think about and think it's pretty awful. It's an eternal prison, like beating your head off a wall for the rest of time, like an eternity of Flappy Bird or the characterization of The Witcher being explained to you as good again. This cloud starts to become the centre of the conversation and shows who these people are. The tensions bring out their bad after we've become so used to the joys of their good sides. That is until it begins. It is when the Pixel Pestilence party starts absorbing our heroes. They disappear one by one, and the others respond, disheartened and crushed by their loss. It is really a heart-wrenching moment. They are all aware of what's coming. They see it all, and then all that's left is John. One of the saddest moments is in that John is left without an audience. He's an extrovert to such a level that he loses his mind with joy when new friends appear and loves the applause. Then all his friends are dead. And he pushes through. He has the courage to work on his own and to get as far as he can. These characterizing moments, the small bits of Danny Wallace's narration really do capture the essence of a being to such a degree they feel whole. The emptiness from when John is finally snatched up is just quite powerful. Then, pop, you're in with James. With this, you are given a whole new set of ideals in the dialogue put on the screen. They refer to our original characters as the first architects. And then it reveals that as if this is a legend passed on through the program that these characters exist in. The new characters like James are referred to as the other architects who made it all possible. This is amazing because it places our narrative now, seeing it as a tale of legend that has unfolded. It's like lore. It's like reading a book within Lord of the Rings in the Lord of the Rings book. It's amazing. And I'm now fascinated at the idea of what a world for these AI shaped by these characters would look like. Anyway, on to James. James is a new character whose fear mainly resides in him being seen as the weirdo that people seem to exile him for. He doesn't work with regular gravity like the rest of our cast have done up until this point. He apparently is made such an outsider of this that he talks himself up and acts how amazing he is, and how little he cares, and how much he likes being alone. How many of us can honestly say we haven't been at that point once in our lives? That isolation, however, is not pined after once Thomas and the other characters enter his life. Instead, he may actually really enjoy being with more people. This is an echo of Chris, who seems to find everything and everyone disappointing or annoying, yet loves his gang and wishes for Thomas back when the pixel cloud takes him. I think this is where the game truly shines, where its message truly gets through, and broke through the exterior of the man I was, who only wanted top particle explosion physics, and that was when I was truly a blown away by Part 3, Unity from the Divided. The plot. As it ends on our intrepid adventurers, they become knowledgeable about their roles as the architects, and it really goes down a path of how true human nature is. It's shown through the fact that Thomas accepts his fate. He knows he will never be able to experience the experiences he wishes to, like meeting Nathan Fillion, which is a pretty great wish and is one of mine too, but wants to give others the opportunity and they offer up their capabilities to allow others to escape, becoming the AI equivalents of ethereal beings or gods, allowing their genetics to be added to all. It shows that some really truly have altruistic goals, and it's really beautiful. However, there's a sinister edge. Gray is a new character who meets Gary. We'll call him Gary. But when they meet, Gary shares that there is a world outside these puzzles they are in, and Gray wishes to escape and keep the world all to himself. This speaks that there will always be a minority of people in this life who will want to take advantage of you, take all they can for their selfish ends. However, all the rest of the characters are loving, caring, help others, and continue the adventures as the group, even if they're not sure of their own fate, making sure everyone takes part and as many people get out as possible. This is where I feel the theme is working towards. We are a collective. We are given tests, ones that we struggle with on our own, but we can solve together. Claire teaches us that the assumption that we can do the right thing, that we can be heroes, may push us to be more than we were going to be otherwise. Chris and Laura show that it doesn't matter somebody's history or how many times they've been bounced on, someone will cherish you, and you can work through where your emotional trauma and baggage reside together. You don't have to be perfect for someone to love you. James shows that there's no weirdo that can't be loved and accepted by a group. You can do adventures with a group, and your difference might be like Claire's, a superpower in disguise. John can remind us that it doesn't matter if your introversion or extroversion has made it harder when you have too many or too few people around you. You can continue, because you can be your own audience and believe your own hype. Thomas shows we can make our own world possible, one where everyone can be and will be what they want, so long as we all see each other's value. That we can be curious, start an adventure, and even if we don't get our wishes, or we don't see the end ourselves, it doesn't mean it wasn't for nothing. But that's my reading, at least. I could be finding my own views in this and could be a really, really unreliable narrator. But you can test that by buying it, playing it. It's available on everything, I think. And then get really angry in the comments with me that I read the characters wrong, or that Gary's name isn't Gary, or that I didn't talk about Team Jump enough. And believe me, I love Team Jump, they're the best. And we can just continue this story. And this can go on and on and on about talking about this stuff, because you can create something and show your appreciation and link it to me, and I can see what you think. And who knows, you could make the fan art and send it to me, and that would be really nice. I'm not gonna lie, I would really love that. I hope you enjoy, and maybe use this as an example to try out smaller games, even though they're not as pretty as some AAAs, and see the benefit in other people's work. Anyway, I'll probably link some stuff in the description, stuff like Patreon or whatever, and just follow it or whatever, do the YouTube things. I'll probably be making more of these in the future, and who knows, you might love it.